Family, we get paid to read these books. Formal education will pay you a living, but self-education will pay you a fortune. We're reading this Ronda Rousey book biography this month. I love it. On page 169, she says, finding a coach is like finding a boyfriend. She says, when I'm looking for a coach, now imagine she's been practicing judo since she was 11 years old and had all the way to a world championship and 2 trips to the Olympics and won a gold medal on a second trip. She done had coaches from all over the world. So she done worked with a whole bunch of different people. So she says, when I'm looking for a coach, I shop around. It's a lot like dating. Sometimes you might meet a great guy, but he's just not the one for you. When you find the right coach, something clicks. It just feels right. If you don't have that feeling, you don't have the right coach. Fighters have to search, listen to this, fighters have to search for a coach with potential. Like, if the person you working with, they ain't going nowhere, you probably ain't going nowhere with them. All right, just the way coaches have to search for fighters with potential. Basically, she's saying the coaches and the fighters are looking for each other. Coaches are looking for players, and players should be looking for coaches. After all, it's a relationship you build over time. Get to know people, and then this is my insight. You know, it takes time to get to know people, and you have to invest in the relationship. You got to create opportunities for you to be around the people that you're working with. One of my favorite John Maxwell quotes, teams that don't bond, don't build. You got to be around people and get to know them. And they'll be talking about their goals and what they're doing to get better. And you want to copy them. Teammates, I promise, I was not, when I was 22 years old and I got in the financial service industry, I was not thinking this way. It was just by the grace of God that I ended up in this business with someone that was able to help me and guide me and get me started off in the business. I was not intentional about looking. I don't think most people are. I mean, I was go to school and get the best job you can find and live paycheck to paycheck. You know, that's all I knew. But I know now I am very intentional. I'm very intentional on who I listen to, who I talk to, the books I read, the content, the people I watch on YouTube. I am very intentional about if the person if the person doesn't really have the light. I ain't talking about just the business of making money, because I know plenty of very dysfunctional people that have very high income. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the life, the family, they happy. I know pretty grumpy, just terrible to be around people make a lot of money. I ain't talking about that either. I'm talking about happy, great energy, excited about life, great family life, and they winning in business. They're the people we want to be around. All right? That's insight 1. Let's go on over here. Now listen to this. So she had to make the transition from just judo, where, judo is like, some form of karate where you're flipping people and throwing people and breaking their arms, to MMA. MMA is mixed martial arts. That's where you're doing all of it. You're boxing and karate and judo and all the jiu-jitsu and all the other stuff that I don't know nothing about. So she had, when I made the transition to MMA, I knew I could submit anyone on the planet. Meaning she knew if she got them in her judo grip, it was a wrap. She was going to break their arm. She says striking, which I'm imagining she mean like boxing is what I'm thinking. Striking was a different story. I'm sure it's that way with, listen to this, she preaching, you about to miss it. She says, I'm sure it's that way with any career change. You bring the skills you have, but you also need to develop new ones. To improve, I had to find a striking coach. I went to a couple of different gyms, but I just wasn't clicking with anybody. Then I remembered the advice my mom had given me when I was searching for the judo coach who could take me to the next level. She said, and listen to this, Rhonda's mom, boy, she a bad sister. There isn't a best coach. There's a best coach for you. Teammates, I believe I got more potential in me than I'm exhibiting right now. And I'm working to bring it out, to raise my level. you should be doing the same thing. You know in your heart if you're maxing out, if you're doing are you the best version of yourself? Are you the most productive person that you could possibly be? If not, focus on getting better. And you already are, and I mean, hopefully you already have some positive skills you can build upon. I know in our industry, some people seem like they come in and they are like overnight successes. They come in, build a huge team, just like that. They're super productive, like overnight. They actually have big producers, big incomes, like quickly. Teammates, what I found is a lot of those people, they had skills before, they developed those skills before they got here. They learned how to present, they learned how to close, they learned how to build a team, they learned how to coach people, they learned the product areas in a lot of cases before they got here. So when they got in this vehicle, they could go so much faster. Unlike me, I joined the business from straight out of college, straight out of Greensboro, by way of Enfield, North Carolina, single wide trailer next to a hog pen. Come on. I had to figure this. It took me a minute to figure it out. Take it easy on yourself. It takes time to get better and change. All right? So that's point 2. It's you may have some skills already, but you're probably going to have to develop some new ones. Start working on that. All right, and point 3, and I'm going to let y'all go. All right, so she went to all these different gyms to learn how to strike, which I guess that means boxing. Anyway, or punching people. So long story short, she found one. And the guy that was like the head coach, that owned the gym, that was the head coach, it was no women in MMA at this point. He didn't want to start training her. He didn't want to. I don't know whether he didn't want to train her because she was a woman, or he didn't want to train her for whatever reason. But he didn't want to train her, and he was doing everything to avoid training her. Now she was a full-time athlete. She went to the gym every day, all day, hours every day. Like she's showing up every day. So obviously she's serious. But he still wouldn't give her the time of day. Now listen to this. He says. She said, so she was watching him. She was watching him and trying to learn and trying to figure it out on her own, kept asking, basically begging for attention. And he kept saying, no, I ain't going to work with you, I ain't going to work with you, I ain't going to work with you. All right, now listen to this. She said, I was learning to read body language very well. Edmund might refuse to give me private lessons, but I was learning more simply from observing him with other fighters than I had learned from all the other English-speaking striking coaches. Like, this guy was good. She couldn't even understand the language, what he was saying to these other guys, but she could learn more from the body language and how he was coaching people than she was learning at these other gyms she was going to. I had learned from all the other English-speaking striking coaches I had worked with. I turned my focus back to the training session in the ring. Listen to this. I fixed my stare on Edmund, narrowing my eyes as if I just concentrated hard enough, I could will him into working with me. This went on for 3 months. Every day I kept coming, and Edmund let me come in for free. Being broke made me even more driven. Oh, wait, the last book we just read was called The Power of Broke. Look, bro, I was determined to work harder than anybody else. I started going to the gym. I would get there so early that they gave me a key. Anyway, teammate, listen to this. Somebody got to be in any group, it's going to be the hardest worker in there. In any group, it's going to be somebody that is putting forth the most effort. In any group, be that person. And you got to be willing, and this is my insight. And she says I did that for 3 months. Then she had an outburst, got his attention, and he started working with her. But basically, she was willing to grind for 3 months with no help, no nothing. Teammates, I say it's more like, in our world, it's more like 6 months. It takes a minute for people to get to know you and buy into you as a coach, as a person, as a leader, and even try to duplicate you. You got to give people an example to copy. And first they got to decide if they even want to copy you. So it's called a rule of 6 months. When we started our activity system, copying Miguel 111310 every day, I was doing it for months. In fact, I did it a whole year and did some whack version of it, trying to avoid really working for a year. Then I reset and did it. And even after I reset, it was 6 months before anybody ever started taking it serious, and we could start getting some other people with some streaks going, 10 days in a row, 20 days in a row, 6 months in a row, or whatever. And then we grew. It takes 6 months. Teammates, you have got to be willing to do it by yourself for 6 months. And I don't care what it is. Now, we might recruit some people on your team and they just come and go. I ain't doing that. But if you perform at a high level, a great example, bringing people in for 6 months, somebody in there be like, all right, I see what you're doing and I'm going to do it with you. All right, teammates. I love you guys. We get paid to read these books, and we'll run this play again tomorrow.